All
You good to
right.
go?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Talk to Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle Steve Baker. And before we get started, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. And today, another amazing guest, the amazing Susan Caso with me, a brilliant author. Actually, I know her from the work that she does with her book, but also a lot of work with teenagers, which is something that I've been wanting to talk about on this show with that change in connection with our children once they hit those teen years. And so I have Susan here that's going to be able to walk us through this and give us hope to be able to keep nurturing connections with our babies who don't want to be babies anymore. So thank you so much, Susan, for coming on. And can you kind of tell us a little bit, share your story with us to tell us how you got to where you are today?
Well, first of all, Danielle, thanks for having me today. It's such a pleasure to chat with you. I enjoyed our chat last week. Um, yeah, I'm a mother of three. I always like to say that first. I have three kids, almost 26. She's going to be 26 this month, 21 and 11.
Wow.
And, so I really can see what has happened over 2 decades and what it's like to be a teenager now compared to, a decade ago. It's very, very different. But I love my kids. I value our relationship. It was really a mission of mine to create an emotional closeness with all of my kids. And so I value the relationship I have individually with each of them and then as our family unit as a whole. And being a mom has really helped me in my own practice as a therapist. I've been a therapist for over 20 years in Boulder, Colorado, and really helps me, empathize in the parent position, what it's like for parents, and as being a teenager too. And so I really try, my mission is to help parents create that emotional closeness at home that really safeguards kids in today's world.
Yeah, and that's amazing because you do have the experience. You lived it personally over 2 decades, and with your practice as well. And this is what I appreciate about your book. The book is called The Parent-Teen Connection. So I invite you. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but you do talk about building those lifelong family relationships because we tend to feel like we're disconnecting from our teen. A lot of the times the communication is almost zero or is there some resistance to our approach. So what worked with them as young children no longer works in terms of uh, keeping harmony in the home or doing taking care of their room and cleaning their room and things like this, the being the parent. And you do talk about the difference between being a mom and dad and being a parent. And that's what I like about that will be one of my first questions. There is we have to take on a different role as a parent when we are into the teen years. So can you kind of describe a little bit your philosophy behind being a mom and dad and being a parent?
Yes, yes. So, I've been asking teenagers this question for many, many years. I say, what percent of interaction do you perceive as positive between you and your parent? And most say around 30%. And when I ask them what makes up that 30%, they talk about we cooked together, we listened to music, we cuddled on the couch and watched a movie, we went for a walk, we went skiing, all of these things that really you're cultivating the relationship, you're experiencing joy together and connecting. And then when I ask them, what percent of interaction do you perceive as negative, which is the other 70%, they describe the parent role, which is, interactions that begin with, have you, when are you going to, you need to. And
Mm.
these are tasks that as parents, we have to do, right? We have to keep our kids on track. We have to have them do chores because that's good for them and do their homework, obviously. But
Yeah.
when we're in that parent role, the majority of the time, we are not cultivating the relationship. And
Mm.
so I talk about really in those interactions that you have with your kids every day, really think about, am I being that mom, dad, that warm, loving, comforting side? Or am I being that parent role where I'm being really instructive, like telling them what they need to do, and
Yeah.
really trying to stay in that mom, dad role the majority of the time, because that's what cultivates connection.
Yeah. And that kind of opened up my own. I saw I'm all about numbers. So when you told me those statistics, it kind of made me think back because my children are grown as well as 24 and 21. But when in those teen years coming home from work, and right away the first connection was complaining about all the shoes in the front, at the front at the entrance, tripping over their shoes. And then it started to make me think, of course, I'm always kicking myself as a parent, but to think, not even a, hey, how was your day? They could have had a really hard day. They could have, but I was right already into the authoritative parent. This is like, you need to clean up after you, and instead of just giving them a chance to uh, share their day with me first before we start getting into work mode. So can you kind of tell us 30% positive? That's what our teens are retaining. That's very low. Can you give us some advice on how we can make that switch so that our teens could say it's 70% of the time it's positive and 30% of the time they're keeping me in check? Is there some kind of ways that we could switch that statistic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just brought up a really great one. Greetings. When we greet our kids, it's, yeah, your shoes are in the way, you need to move your shoes. Or the first question, do you have any homework?
Yeah.
And instead, maybe it's, hi, how are you? You know, and you don't even have to ask a question. It could just be, I'm so happy to see you. I missed you today. Greetings are really, really important. There are these moments of connection that, we don't really think about, but they can be really meaningful and welcoming to kids. And
Yeah.
so that is a very, you brought it up, greetings are very, very important in all of our relationships, right? Because when we go right into, again, you have to, when are you going to? It can feel more like a performance review rather than a relationship. Like, where's that connection? It's just all
All right.
instructional and basically telling a kid what they haven't done, right? And they've been through school all day, and it's hard to go to school all day and be told when to go to the bathroom, when to eat, when, sit down for an hour, and learning things that they may have no ability, right? Natural ability to know.
Yeah.
Um, the other piece of all this is finding designated times to talk about that stuff that's in that parent role, instead of that continually, have you done your homework? When are you going to do your homework? Just set aside times to discuss these things, like twice a week. Let's check, how are you doing in your classes? Do you need any help? Do you need my assistance? Schedule times to do chores so you don't have to keep talking about it. Because that's one thing my kids would say is like, Mom, you're repeating yourself. I was like, I know I am. I'm going to stop. Okay. Saturday and Tuesday are the days that you clean your room. I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part is when they call you out on it too. And you'll just be like, yeah, but if you did it, I wouldn't have, we get in on that defensive, and it's hard to just take a step back and say, oh, I'm doing it again, and I like that to set, and it holds them accountable as well to say, these are the days and you're expected to do them. And I'm here for you. If you keep it open, then they're gonna want to ask for help with school, or they're gonna want to talk about help. Um,
Right.
and as opposed to just
Right.
shutting down. Yeah, I like that.
Right.
That
And it can feel more like a collaboration. Like, I am here to support you. Like, these are the things that you need to do, but I'm here to support you. And just more of a collaboration.
yeah, I like that. That's what we were talking about when we first spoke or when we first met was it's more like a coaching or a mentorship at this point where you can let go of the reins a little bit. You have to, it's hard, but to say, I'm here for you, and let's support you with whatever it is you want to do.
Right, we
And
have to give the reins,
yeah,
right? We have to let them do that, which also means that they might fail or make a mistake. And that's part of life, trial and error. That's how we all learn. And I really don't think we're allowing our kids to have much trial and error right now,
yeah,
because the stakes are like in high school, the stakes are so high to get a bad grade on a test. It's like, oh, I can't get into that college. And
right.
that's really hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're still sensitive about what we'll think of them as well. I find that they'll put up the front, but if they feel like they've failed, uh, it's they beat themselves up for it. They won't show it to you. They'll kind of lash out at you maybe, but they really do feel it, and they need us. They need that reassurance, even if they kind of push us away. And that kind of led me into the next question I wanted to ask you is. Um, because through the development, when children reach their teen years, they're looking for they're finding their identity, they're finding who they really are, and so they're moving away from the picture that their parents created for them into, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I like, these are my interests, and these are the friends that share the same interests. So they're pulling away from us, and so the communication sometimes is just cut off. So how can you tell? This is something that a lot of the families I work with, they get worried when their child used to play in the living room or the family room, and all of a sudden they just want to be in their room, like door closed, and don't want to talk, or just like, just the shoulder talk. So how are there any signs that can help the parents or our listeners to tell if it's just the child being a teen, or if there really is a disconnection there that we should look into when our child stops talking or communicating with us?
Yeah, teens will, they are finding themselves. They do want some privacy. That's a big word. I get
Mhm.
this, hey, mom, dad just walks into my bedroom and they don't knock. And, so
Yeah.
we do have to honor kids' privacy.
Mhm.
I talk about in the book something called a serve return, a volley between a parent and a teen. And when we have our children, we talk about that serve return. That creates bonding with your kid. A child cries, serves up a need, a parent is there, responds, and that's a return. And that creates a secure attachment, that bond between a parent and child. And so that volley continues, and the child knows, oh, my parent is right here for me. They're going to, take care of my needs. And so when we move into the teenage years, that serve return, that volley just looks a little different. It's more
Mhm.
of an emotional connection. And that is largely through, like you said, communication. Um, we need to listen more than we do as parents. We tend to jump to problem solving, and that really cuts our kids off emotionally. And they'll likely not come back to bring us anything that's going on for them. And so, listening and empathizing with their situation is the biggest thing that we can do that creates security for a kid to reach out to us in times of need, and checking in with them like, are you okay? Every day we need to be talking to our kids about how they're feeling, how are their friendships going. And the more you do that, the more it is just natural as to what happens in your home. Because I think, we use that word vulnerability a lot, and vulnerability implies emotional risk, and we don't want our kids to feel at risk at home for sharing. And so the more that we can look to emotional transparency, that is really what safeguards kids, which really allows that open communication, is emotional transparency. Vulnerability is literally just a stepping stone to emotional transparency. When you
Mhm.
see a kid hesitating, hey, I'm scared to talk to you about this, right there, that's the moment for a parent to go, I can hear anything. I'm here. I'm never too busy. I can hear anything that you want to tell me, and I will just listen.
Wow. That is beautiful. Like, this is a nice way of putting it. The emotional transparency, because we do turn vulnerability is a word that we toss around a lot, but there's so much more to it. And that's what when I work with teens or with families who have teens, it's that um, feeling safe to speak to the parents, because sometimes it's the only place that they could be safe talking about things that are bothering them. So I like that emotional transparency. Um, I'm gonna remember that one. It's so important. So
Yeah,
important. What
thank you.
what is the one thing that a parent could do today? Because I like to say, okay, it's good to talk about it, but we need to put it into practice as well and start showing up through our actions. So, what is the one thing that parents could do today? You've mentioned I can hear anything, but what could parents do to kind of show that that transparency to tell their kids, you're heard, I'm hearing you, and I'm here for you if you need any help. What suggestions do you have for us?
Definitely what parents are talking about themselves. Like we model, we're a model for our kids. And so if we're comfortable talking about our own feelings, they're going to be comfortable talking about their feelings. If we
Mhm.
talk about difficult subjects, then they're going to know, oh, this is something I can talk to my parent about. Again, if they make a mistake, they can come to you. I made a mistake. I got a D on a test, or I sent this text to my friend and look what they did. Look how they responded to me. What do I do about this? And
Mhm.
so again, it's that safety of we can talk about anything. I'm here. I'm the other big piece of all this is a parent being regulated, right?
Mhm.
And so that creates safety as well. I'm not worried how my parent is going to react.
Yeah.
I know that they're going to be okay if I bring this up. And so the more a parent can be regulated, the more a kid can be also regulated because it's contagious, right?
Yeah.
But the more they know this is safe, my parent is approachable.
Mhm. And that starts very early on. It's not just once they turn 13. It's just from the beginning if you open that line of communication and show them through your actions. I love that you said a regulated adult, because that is also a challenge for us as parents sometimes, is realizing that we are reactive and that can shut our teen off. We want them to talk so much that we're just like, girl, we get very aggressive about it. And
Oh, yeah.
we shut them down. so,
Yes.
so I like that.
And regulated, not just like in our, I mean, I think when we think about being regulated, we really need to look at all of it, like
Yeah.
our nonverbals, our paraverbals, and our verbals, right? Like what do I look like to my kid right now? Do I have a scowl on my face? Does my face look approachable? What's my tone? Right? My tone. So these are all things that we have to think about when we think, oh, does my kid think I'm approachable? Right?
Yeah.
Through all the ways of communicating, not just by my words.
Yeah, that is big. That is nonverbal is speaks so much more than the words that come out of our mouth. So yeah, if you're rolling your eyes at your teen, then yeah, it's not going to be that inviting. And they really are looking for that connection. They want to be able to approach. They still need that. They're just in a phase where they need to pull away to figure out their own stuff, but they do need they just have a different way of showing it, I guess. I really like that. I wish I could talk to you about this all day, but I wanted to know, with everything that you kind of shared, is there advice that you can share with us that you wish you would have known sooner? That would have made things so much easier for you.
Yeah, I talk about in the book that when I was a mother at the very beginning, I was very anxious.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness, so anxious. I just wanted everything to be perfect. Every experience they had to be great. And really, it had the opposite effect. I became rigid. I wouldn't allow them to just be. And
Mhm.
so when I really realized what was happening, and took a step back and went, wow, I'm really anxious. And what I really want for my kid is to have a great experience and for us to have a close relationship. Anxiety is not a place for that, right? It's not
Yeah.
going to allow that to happen. And so I do wish I had really, that had dawned on me sooner.
Yeah. It's not easy though, because especially now with social media and what we see, that super mom image that we see, we feel overwhelmed at the fact that we need to be able to juggle all these things. When my aha moment was when I realized that people were never going to post what's going wrong, right? They're only going to post what's going right. So I started thinking, okay, they're only showing us what they want us to see. So let's see what I want how I want to show up as a mother and work on that instead of looking at what everybody else is doing. It's good
Yeah.
advice. Yeah. Yeah, anxiety is natural, I think, as a mother, especially a first-time mother. But to work through that, it's amazing. We did mention the book. I want to talk. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about your book and how it helps the families that you work with and other families as well?
Yeah. The intention of the book is to create stronger families where there's a deep sense of belonging at home, healthy communication, and an emotional closeness between parent and teen. And that's really what safeguards kids in today's world. Kids that have at least one parent where they feel a strong connection have fewer violence, substance abuse, fewer suicide attempts, higher self-esteem, better school performance. All of those things, is really dependent on that close connection between a parent and a teen.
Mhm.
The other thing that's really coming out of the book is um, because what I talk about in the book, creating a close connection, can really be translated to other relationships. And
Yeah.
so, what I'm seeing is couples that read the book are finding out how they can also have a closer connection, better communication, a deeper sense of belonging with each other. And hopefully that'll be the subject of my next book for couples. But right now, I know it says parent teen connection, but really anybody can really benefit from reading the book.
Yeah. That's what caught my eye as first too when I saw the book was this is transferable to any type of relationship. It could even work with work relationship and how we communicate, how that transparency that you were talking about, helping each other out as well can be on a business level, on a professional level, of course, but it is transferable to other areas of your life. So I really appreciate that. And of course, I'll leave a link where people can get a hold of that book. I know it is available on Amazon, but to get their hands on that book, I think everybody should be reading it to be prepared for the teen years and see how we can build those lifelong relationships with our children through with the whole family. Is there anything new coming up? Do you have anything you mentioned in the other book, but is there other things that you have going on right now that you'd like to share with us?
Well, right now I'm seeing a lot of response of people wanting to use the book as a book group.
Oh,
And the book, yeah, and it's been amazing. I just had a school district get a grant and purchase 100 books, and they're going to give them away to parents in our community. And we're going to create a book group. And I'm just so excited about it because really the layout of the book, at the bottom of every chapter, there's self-reflection questions. So it
yeah.
really sets it up nicely for a book group. And so I'm really hoping to drop in on lots of different book groups. Um, and the book just came out a month ago, so I'll be doing a lot of talking about it, and that's kind of what my focus is right now. I probably won't start my second book for, I would think, about a year.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. It's that kind of thing where I wrote it, it's out. I'm ready to move on. There's so much more that comes with it once it's published, and it can definitely be used as a guide. I love that idea of just sitting down and working on certain things every time we meet. That's beautiful. That's a great project.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's really creating a sense of community too, people coming together and breaking down stigma, really, of talking about how we're feeling and our mental health and what it's like to be a parent. And so, I'm just imagining groups all over the world talking, and sharing and really creating a great sense of community.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I'm excited about that. I can't wait to see what it looks like. I'm gonna add again all your information so that people can follow you to see how that is coming about, and they can contact you if they'd like to work with you as well, which is great. I I do have again, I could ask you so many questions. I'm gonna try to stay on topic, but I'd always ask this one last question before we wrap up, and it's a question that I promised the little girl I would ask everybody I interview, and that question is, what would you like to be when you grow up?
Well, first of all, I love that question.
I
And I love
know.
that little girl. Who is she and where is she? That is such a great question because we ask that to kids all the time.
All the time. She's amazing. She's grown now, but I just lie. She's not a little girl anymore. But yeah, it's my favorite question, honestly, is amazing to ask adults this question.
Well, what I wish to be grow up to, when I grow up is fearless. Uh,
Mm,
I've struggled with anxiety on and off my whole entire life. And when it shows up, when it's running, I show up so differently. It just sabotages my self-esteem. It causes me to make decisions I wouldn't normally make or indecision, really. And this book is definitely a fearless effort on my part. I was out of my comfort zone a lot of the time, and am right now because I don't do interviews very well. I think I
oh
get
no,
super nervous. You're
you're
because
doing
you're
great.
so sweet, I'm comfortable. But um, about 3 months ago, the book hadn't been out yet, and I was sitting next to my husband on the couch, and he said, "I'm so proud of you." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "I know you're out of your comfort zone all
Oh
the time."
wow.
And I went, "Thanks for acknowledging that," because I am. I just kept pushing myself. Like, I know I can do this. I'm not going to let my fear hold me back. And I'm just going to do it. I'm
Yeah.
54 years old and I am being run by fear. Like, no, no more.
But it's so real though, and by the way, you don't look like you're nervous during interviews, because the entire time I'm looking at you going, oh, she looks so calm, and I always admire that because I'm just a big ball of nerve. I'm always so agitated when I speak, but I love how calm you are. So no, it doesn't come through at all if that's what you're feeling right now. But you're right, and writing a book gets you out of that comfort zone entirely, because you're questioning yourself the entire time. You have to make decisions that you don't want to make at some point. You're just like, I don't want to have to think about this anymore. You go through an emotional roller coaster when you're writing a book, and fearless. I love that. Just
Yeah.
step out of your comfort zone and enjoy the ride. Basically, it's great. And
Yes.
it was a good thing that you did. It must feel amazing to get that validation from your spouse, though, from your partner, that they see it, knowing who you are. Because I mean, I couldn't tell, but I'm sure he gets the other side of it, and to be able to say, "I'm proud of you," like to hear that from your partner, and noticing that you're doing great. It's wonderful. I like
Oh,
that.
he's
Yeah.
amazing. I
Yeah.
don't think I could have done it without him. I mean, he was
Mm.
so encouraging and he read, I didn't even give him anything to read until 4 months after I'd started writing. And when he looked up and looked at me and he went, "Am I volleying with Olivia?" That's our youngest. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, it works. You like it?" And he's like, "Yeah. Oh my gosh." And
Wow.
so he really kind of helped me, have a little bit more confidence and, his encouragement just was priceless, really.
That's good to hear it from somebody that's so close. Yeah, you can hear it from strangers and like, okay, but to hear it from somebody that's close, that's wonderful. I like
Yeah.
that. Thank you so much for sharing your your knowledge, for sharing your wisdom, and sharing a little bit more about yourself. I know that the listeners are really going to appreciate those first steps in building that connection with their teens, or if they're young children, they're kind of dreading the teen years because they're given such a bad rap about what it's like to be in the teen years. But I like how your book is soothing. For some reason, when I was reading some parts of it, and it's it's soothing. For me, it was soothing to read it and say, okay, this is good. It's not, you're prepared, you're armed and ready to go for battle, but no, you can let those guards down and just connect with your teen. And I love that. I love that message.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hope parents feel my compassion for what it's like to be a parent,
Yeah.
of a kid of any age. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is still so important in the teen years. Even if they push us away, we think that they just don't want it anymore, but they really do. They want that
They do.
connection with us. They want to hear it. So the fact
They
that you put it down in the book and kind of reassure the parents and say you can still be a great mom and a great dad, and just switch things around a little bit to solidify that connection. I love that.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you so much.
polishes.
And how can people follow you? What is the best way to reach you if they want to know a bit more about what you do, or if they want to get their hands on your book or anything like that? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, my website, susancaso.com,
Mm.
CASO. Instagram, susan.caso. The book's available wherever books are sold.
Excellent.
And you can
And I'll put
always
all.
email me too.
Yes, I love that. You'll get that on the website, so you could definitely reach her. And I'll put all of that information in the description so people can contact you to uh, to follow you and see what other great things are going to be coming here. It's a thank you again so much. I really appreciate you coming, and I'd love to have you on again and talk about more because this is a nice introduction to it, but you really go in deep. So I'd love to have you back on whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Danielle. Thanks for having me, and I would love to come back.
All
Love
right,
to.
that's awesome. Thank you so much, and for everybody listening or watching, don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. Don't forget to have a look at Susan's work as well and follow her because she will give you lots of resources as well. And until next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll talk soon.